A fire broke out backstage in a theater. The clown came out to warn the public. They thought it was a joke and applauded. He repeated it. The acclaim was even greater. I think that's just how the world will come to an end. The general applause from wits who believe it's a joke. That parable comes from Søren Kierkegaard, the father of existentialism. He wrote it in the 1840s, but he might as well have been writing a caption for the painting you are looking at right now. This is Stańczyk, painted in 1862 by the Polish master Jan Matejko. At first glance it is a period piece, a window into the 18th century, but if you look enough, if you stare at it long enough, the historical costumes dissolve, and you are left with something far more terrifying. You are left with the silence of a man who sees the fire backstage, while the rest of the world just keeps on clapping. In order to understand the power of this image, we have to ignore the history for a moment and look at the physics of the room. The composition is built on a brutal contrast. On the right side of the canvas, we have the light. We have a royal ball in full swing. It is a blur of movement, wealth, and ignorance. We can almost hear the music, the clinking of goblets, the laughter of the courtiers. It is a world of warm yellows and golden hues, a place of safety. Then there is the left side of the jester. Here the world is cold. The shadows are heavy, the dominant color is red. The red of his tunic, the red of the tablecloth, the red of the velvet chair. Usually, red is the color of passion, of life, of blood pumping through veins, but here the red feels stagnant. It looks like a dried wound. Stańczyk sits in the center of this darkness. The lighting is theatrical, like a spotlight hitting an actor after the play is over. When the theater has emptied out, he is slumped, defeated. He is physically present at the party, but spiritually is 1,000 miles away. Why is he broken? The narrative clue lies on the table. That crumpled piece of paper is a dispatch announcing the loss of Smolensk, a vital fortress city to the Russians. It is the year 1514. The borders of the country are crumbling. The empire is beginning to crack. Through the window we see a shooting star, or perhaps a comet streaking over the Wawel Cathedral. In medieval symbolism, a comet was rarely a wish, it was an omen, a harbinger of plague, of war, of the death of kings. Stańczyk knows this. He possesses the burden of awareness, and this is where the tragedy transforms from political to psychological. The tragedy isn't that the city has fallen. Empires rise and fall every day, right? The tragedy is the disconnect. The people who have the power to stop the fire, the kings, the queens, the generals in the other room, are dancing. The only person who understands the gravity of the situation at hand is the person who is powerless to do anything about it. And that is the clown, the jester. Psychologists have a term for this specific kind of isolation. They call it the sad clown paradox. Studies have shown a startling correlation between high comedic ability and deep-seated depression. It suggests that humor is often a defensive mechanism, a cognitive fortress that we have to build to keep the darkness at bay. If you can make people laugh, you control the narrative. If you are the one telling the joke, you cannot be the victim of it. We see this archetype echoed throughout art history. Look at Edward Hopper's Sour Blue. The clown sits in a crowded French cafe, painted white, smoking a cigarette. He is surrounded by people, yet an invisible wall separates him from humanity. The makeup that is supposed to bring joy acts as a barrier. It dehumanizes the performer. To the audience, the clown is not a person with fears and heartbreaks. The clown is an object, a vessel for their amusement. And when that vessel cracks, the audience doesn't know how to react. You just wait for the next gag.
And I feel my life has just begun.
In our modern mythology, we have taken this concept to its darkest extreme with the character of the Joker, specifically the version portrayed by Joaquin Phoenix. There is a scene where Arthur Fleck sits in the front of the mirror, using his fingers to force his mouth in a smile while tears stream down his face. Now look back at Stańczyk. The posture is identical. The slumped shoulders, the exhaustion, the intricate, suffocating costume. However, there is a crucial difference. The Joker represents the broken fool, the man who realizes the world is a tragedy, so he decides to burn it down. He laughs at the fire. Stańczyk, however, is the wise fool. In the 16th century, the jester was often the only person allowed to tell the king the truth, disguised as a joke, of course. Stańczyk's tragedy is not that he wants to burn the world, but that he desperately wants to save it. And he knows he can't. He is trapped in his role. He is screaming on the inside, but his painted face is frozen in a permanent mocking grin. Look at the floor. That stick with the little face on, it is called a marotte. It is his prop, his partner. By throwing it on the ground, Stańczyk has committed an act of rebellion. He has stopped performing. In the famous opera Pagliacci, the clown Canio discovers his life is falling apart, but he has to go on stage. He sings the famous aria Vesila Gilba, put on the costume, powder your face. The people pay and they want to laugh. That is the contract of the clown. You are not allowed to be a human. You are a mirror for our happiness, not a container for your own pain. Stańczyk has breached the contract. He has dropped the mask, and for the first time, we are seeing the man, not the myth. But who is the man behind the mask? This is the final devastating layer of this painting. Matejko didn't hire a model for this figure. He looked in the mirror. Stańczyk is a self-portrait. Matejko was a patriot watching his own country, Poland, being erased from the map by foreign powers in the 19th century. He felt exactly like the jester. He felt he was the only one shouting warnings while his countrymen slept. By painting himself as a sad clown, he was making a confession. He is admitting that art is powerless against the march of history. He is the jester sitting in the chair, holding a paintbrush instead of a scepter, watching the comet fall, knowing that no matter how beautiful the painting is, the fire is still coming. We live in a world of constant performance. We create our lives, we filter our photos, we perform happiness for an audience of strangers, and we applaud the fire because we think it's part of the show. So, as you look at Stańczyk sitting alone in the darkness, stripped of his humor, crushed by his wisdom, I want you to ask yourself one thing. When the curtain falls and the audience goes home, and you finally take off the mask, who is left sitting in the chair?
Hey guys, Marco here. Make sure to take my videos with a grain of salt. No, pardon me if I mispronounce some stuff or like I need more detail. But feel free to explore the topics regarding my videos and stuff. But don't forget, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you would like to support me.
Wow!